Okay, welcome back. If you are here right now, it means that you have either opened up your PDF or you're already in your Realize Reader like a scholar, getting ready to read your last text, which is a personal essay, another personal essay, just like the Back to My Own Country essay. I almost forgot the name of that. So let's read paragraphs 1 to 4, and then you'll be, since you are seniors, you're going off to college, you're going off to the workforce, you're ready to enter adult life, you are officially ready to read the rest of the essay by yourself without me. Okay, here we go. Okay, so hopefully you read the Do Now and you know the context, the background, and the author bio, okay? In every interview during the last few years, I encountered two questions that forced me to define myself as a writer and as a human being. Why do I write? And who do I write for? Tonight, I will try to answer those questions. So it's a speech. In 1981, in Caracas, I put a sheet of paper in my typewriter and wrote the first sentence of The House of the Spirits. Barrabadas came to us by sea. At that moment, I didn't know why I was doing it or for whom. In fact, I assumed that no one would ever read it except my mother, who reads everything I write. I was not even conscious that I was writing a novel. I thought I was writing a letter, a spiritual letter to my grandfather, a formidable old patriarch whom I loved dearly. He had reached almost 100 years of age and decided that he was too tired to go on living. So he sat in his armchair and refused to drink or eat, calling for death, who was kind enough to take him very soon. Wow. So two things I noticed right off the bat is writers always have their own process. Remember I told you about that poet who couldn't write, if you were in my class, if you weren't, I'm telling you now, who couldn't write unless they had a rotting apple in a drawer next to them? Every author has like their sort of process for writing or what they need to kill the writer's block, okay? And it was rumored, we also know this from my class, that Mary Shelley actually carried her husband's heart, Percy Shelley, with her, and that helped her write. But anyway, back to this. So I write really similarly to her, where she doesn't even know what she's going to write. She just starts typing, right? She just starts going and going. And so she says she didn't even expect this to be a novel. She was just writing. And it was almost like a letter, a spiritual letter to her grandfather, who was so strong that when he decided he was too tired to go on living, he refused to eat and drink and he let himself die. Now that is dark. I wanted to bid him farewell, we're on paragraph 3, but I couldn't go back to Chile, and I knew that calling him on the telephone was useless. So I began this letter. I wanted to tell him that he could go in peace because all his memories were with me. I had forgotten nothing. I had all his anecdotes. Remember anecdote, what that means? Little side stories. All the characters of the family, and to prove it, I began writing the story of Rose, the fiancé my grandfather had, who is called Rose the Beautiful in the book. She really existed. She's not a copy from Garcia Marquez, as some people have said. So here she's referring to her critics. She's a famous author, right? She's a writer. She writes these like what look like sort of romance contemporary novels. They look really nice, right? They look good from the pictures that I showed y'all. But she's saying, I didn't copy that from anyone. No, that came from my grandfather. So who is she getting her ideas from? From family, from generations of living as a Chilean person. For a year, I wrote every night with no hesitation or plan. Words came out like a violent torrent. I had thousands of untold words stuck in my chest, threatening to choke me. And that's how you know she's a real writer, right? Because writers write. They just sit down and they do it. The long silence of exile was turning me to stone. I needed to open a valve and let the river of secret words find a way out. At the end of that year, there were 500 pages on my table. It didn't look like a letter anymore. On the other hand, my grandfather had died long before, so the spiritual message had already reached him. So she's writing this letter to her grandpa, and in the meantime, he's already died, right? And this letter is getting longer and longer and longer, and it's turning into something bigger. So I thought, well, maybe in this way I can tell some other people about him and about my country and about my family and myself. So I just organized it a little bit, tied the manuscript with a pink ribbon for luck, and took it to some publishers. Now that's something I would do. So let's find out what happens. Let's find out how family, generations, how her identity play a role in her success, right? Because when you all go off to college or when you all go out into your lives, your background, your family, Watts, everything you've experienced, your trauma, your joys, everything is going to play a part in your story. And your story is just beginning.